We all know how deadly method feeder fishing is, especially in shallow water up against islands just like this one behind me. But one thing I've noticed people don't really do is really attack that line. And by that I mean using one of these, filling it in across the far side, trying to replicate what you're doing down the edge. And trust me, by fishing like this, being really positive, you can nick everybody else's fish and have them absolutely solid over to your island. So let me show you how I go about doing it. So how are we going to start our session? I'm going to start the session like you do on any other time you fish a method. What I'm going to do, a great starting bait, micro pellets around a method. If there's some fish there, that's a real quick way of catching them. So it's going to be a case of starting like that. I'm going to fish maggots on the hook, micros around the feeder, only because I know maggots work really well here. If I'm getting a few nuisance fish, I'll change it to pellets. I'm going to catch maybe 2 or 3 quick fish like you normally do in a match or start of your session. Those couple of almost like mug fish, if you want to call them that. You'll catch 2 or 3 real quick and then you'll start to slow up and think, right, they've gone now, and that's where you come off the feeder most of the time. That's the point. I'm really going to attack that far line. I've got some Groundbait mixed up, which has got some really good pulling power. And then with our big feeder, I'll give them 4 or 5 of these and then just drop. That's just a small 24 gram method over the top with Groundbait, dead reds again. And what you'll find is they're not really used to seeing it across to an island. They're used to seeing it dumped in the edge, but they're not used to seeing volumes of bait over to the island. And I'm hoping it's a hot day, it's shallow water across there, we'll be able to see a few tails showing themselves to us. So that's going to be what we do to start. Let's get some bait prepared. I'll show you the setup. The setup is so simple, method feeder fishing, but there's one thing that you need for this. They're not cheap, but they're super, super important for this game. So let me show you. Okay, so we're talking the kit we're going to use. For me, I absolutely love these Guru Engage rods. Obviously, I'm a Guru angler, so I'm going to use these, but if I'm 100% honest, I would probably use these anyway, regardless. They're not particularly expensive, just over 100 quid. So that's a 10 footer. What I've got in this is a 3/4 ounce tip, just because we're fishing onto a slope and I don't want too much resistance to dislodge my feeder. I've got a nice 4,000 reel on there, nice and powerful. I've got 10-pound reel line because we're fishing for carp. There's brambles and stuff against the islands, and I don't want my main line letting me down when I've spent a lot of time clipping up to get into position. And then all I've got, when I'm fishing across to islands, I do like an inline feeder, so I've just got, that's just a 24 gram small on there, free running, a little twizzle loop, and then just to connect my hook length, what I've started using is a waggler swivel. So what you'll find is it sits inside, the swivel actually sits inside, and then you've got that there. And what I'm looking for with my method, like what we've seen from underwater footage, having plenty of movement is really important. So when I put my hook length on there, I can curl it in. It's not going to try and spring out of the feeder until the pellets break down, but then it can sort of like waft around and move around. It's not too rigid, so it can sort of just move around your feeder a little bit. So that's really important. So that's the main, your standard bit of kit. 10-foot rod, 4,000 reel. You could use a 3,000 if you want to. I've just got these set up from a recent festival, so that's what I'm going to use today. And now this is the important bit of kit. Now what I've done for years is when I've tried to fish like this, I've just tried to just get away with the rod that I'm actually using. So I'd have 2 end gauges set up, one with like a 3/4 ounce tip, another with an 1.5 ounce, 2 ounce tip on it, and then try and chuck one of these great big feeders full of bait, they weigh a ton. But it's all about having the right kit for the job, and the amount of times I've cracked off doing that, you can't be accurate with the casting. So what I ended up doing, I ended up having one of these exchange bait up rods. This is a 10 footer, you get them in 10 or 12 foot. I just fancied a 10 would be a little bit more versatile for what I want to do. I'm not going to be baiting up at 80 metres like some boys do. A 10 foot is perfect for me if I want to fish a method down the edge, or a 25 metre chuck to an island. That can do all of that and more. When I go up the reservoir, I chuck, if I want to bait up at 40 metres, 45, I can easily do it with this rod, just a little bit more manageable at the shorter distance. I said these aren't cheap, but realistically when I look at it, they're just over 100 quid. I think this is 99.99 this one. So it's not really going to break the bank. 100 quid is nothing to the price of everything. What I've got on there, I've got a TDR distance. Just, you could use a 4,000 reel for this kind of fishing, no problem. This is just set up and it just gives me a lot of winding power to buzz that big feeder back in. And then I've just got some Shield shock leader on there, that's 12 pound. And then I've just got a snap swivel in a little loop, and then I can just clip on a bomb to clip up and then just clip my feeder on and off. So that's the hardware. Really simple stuff, a bait up rod and a 10-foot rod, and trust me, you can catch an absolute boatload of fish fishing like this, and I'm going to prove it now. So when it comes to actually fishing, I'm going to be chucking the method as close to the island as I can to start with pellets and after we've baited up. But what I'm going to do, which is really similar to what you do on the edge, I'm going to have my bait up rod clipped up probably a metre back from the island. So similar to what you do on the edge, you don't feed in the grass as such, feed them off the bank. Otherwise you'll have them crawling up the bank and can't catch them. So I'm going to do the same over there. I'm going to clip up a metre off, get the fish in my area. I know they want to be in the shallow water, they always do on this lake. And then the closer they get to the island, where they actually want to feed, I'll just have my little pile of bait. So that's how we're going to go about it to start. We're not going to bait up straight away. We're going to try and catch 2, maybe 3 quick mug fish like you would on a normal session. Then I can show you by filling it in, hopefully we can get an absolute pile of tails sticking out and carp everywhere over there. And one of the easiest ways to catch them is on a method feeder. So let's get after it. Right then, we are ready to start. So I'm going to start just 2 dead reds. What I've got some 019 end gauge there, 4 inches with 14 eyed Kaizen. I really like those eyed hooks. Just tied like knotless knot and just trimmed them up then. So let's start with some pellets. I'm expecting a quick bite or 2 on this, and then we can get the big guns out. So what you want to do is make sure you prepare your micros with plenty of time before the session. So I'm double skinning our feeder. I want to give them a little bit of bait. So to start with, we're just going to plot this pretty close to the island to start. There you are. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hold on to that line. So unfortunately, for whatever reason, the next few seconds of the video, I lost the audio. I think it's because it was so hot. I've had it a fair bit, especially these DJI mics. So if anybody knows how to combat losing audio on a video, please drop it in the comments, because it'll be a big help for me, because it's doing my Sweden at the minute. So for the next little bit, it's only a few seconds. I'll just voice over it. It's just the start of the session. So what I'll do, I'll just talk you through, like we said at the start with pellets, a quick response. So I'll quickly talk you through it now. It's literally only a couple of seconds, and then we're good to roll. I was going to go and refilm it, but I thought the fishing is so good, we can't lose this. So for this, we're just going to have to bite the bullet, a little bit of voiceover, and then we'll be rocking again. Right, so like I was explaining there, all I'm doing now, I'm just holding the line, taking up the tension, being super careful. I don't move that feeder. That's why I use that really light tip, just so you can sort of bend your tip into it and you know there's not a lot of tension there to pull it back away from the island. So that's first chuck, and like I said, I'm looking for a super quick response. That's why I'll always start with pellets. Such a good bait for getting a quick bite and finding out what's in your peg. So we just sit there nice and patient now, keeping an eye on that tip. And there you go, indication straight away, picked up carp, and that was that 30-second chuck, and we're away already. And that's the beauty of fishing with pellets. So when I'm playing them now, just keep the rod nice and low, wait till they pop up in front of me, lift the rod, and then hopefully I can just scoop him up pretty quick. It's a nice carp to start the session, and that's what it's, that's a great starting point. First chuck, got a fish, and that's kind of what I expected, especially when you're fishing up against islands. The fish are naturally living around there. So it's just a case with pellets, drop that feeder, in the zone, and you should get quite a quick response, but this won't last forever. 2 or 3 quick fish normally, and then the time will come to change it. So I've just got 2 dead reds on there on my eyed 14 Kaizen, my favourite hook on a method. If I'm ever just hooking maggots, I'll always go for a Kaizen. Size 14 seems nice for 2 dead reds. And a lot of the time I catch a lot of fish on a single red as well. So I'll just quickly baiting up. And then, because I've prepared my pellets plenty of time in advance, they go around that method absolutely perfectly. If they're too wet, all you'll get is they'll just stick in that mould all the time. So I'd rather them a little bit drier, and then I can really compress them onto that feeder then. And what I'll do, to start off, I'll double skin it. So I have a nice pile of pellets around my hook bait there. So there she is, look, the finished product. Absolutely perfect on that 24-gram method. So just line up with my far bank marker, and nice and positive, nice firm chuck, out she goes, and there you are, she's on the money again. So again, what I'll do now, I'll just hold that line, and what's nice with this, if one grabs it, you'll feel it pull the line in your hands, and I've had this at Belingi a lot. So I'm just feeling for a bite, there you are, that's instant. Straight round, and an absolute dream start to the session. That just holding a line is so deadly. At Belingi before, I've actually caught 230 pound and not even managed to put the rod in the rest. I literally just held the line, held the rod in front of me, and that was the way to catch them. So any second now, we are going to be back in the room with the audio. So here we go. Any second now, and we're back. Oh, jeez. These carp are absolute lunatics. Something wrong with them, man. I'm not going to even try to hold him up, but there you are. It's a lovely looking carp. Unfortunately, you won't get a look at that one. So let's keep going as we are for a minute. Just got my little towel there. Dead reds is such a good method bait. Not, you know, everybody's obsessed at the minute with using like little wafters and stuff, but honestly, for my method feeder fishing, I'd say, you know, when I go to Whiteacres, White Springs, come here, anywhere where you're fishing for like numbers of smaller carp, F1s, I just can't see past dead reds. I just think they're the best. Different when you go to like Larford or Barston, a little bit different. You're a little bit more selective there, but anywhere like these kind of venues, these smaller commercials, chucking up against islands and stuff, I just think maggots are unbeatable. I don't even know if they want to eat them. I don't know whether they just suck them up. As they're sucking up the micros, they just suck up the maggots as well. So let's see what happens this chuck. Oh, that line's just keep an eye. That line was just coming off our spool a little bit too easy then. So here we go. Just going in like a nice plop, not crashing it in there. I'm not super tight at the minute, but what I can do by starting just off, I can always just inch my way close to that island. So let's see if we can get dragged in again. I haven't got a stupidly like big bend in the tip there. It's just enough to take up the tension. What I really don't want to do is dislodge that feeder, so there's a couple of liners there now. Like he's moved that feeder, that fish now, so I'm not going to give it too much longer because I've had to just take half a turn back onto the spool. Right, so nothing that chuck. Let's just have one more chuck. Like I don't want to pile it in there too like premature. I want to make sure you know it's about a response. It's not about just doing it for the sake of it. Right, so no signs of that chuck. So let's give it another go. Oh, it's nice that is. So we'll just sink that down, making sure I'm super gentle with our line. Well, that's sunk. So I'm going to give it another 4-minute chuck, and if nothing happens this time, I'm going to buzz it back in, and then we're going to get Big Bertha out, give him some ground bait, get some fish, get some competition in the peg, and then hopefully we can just keep rattling through them. So let's see what happens this chuck. If no good, we'll be straight back in and start again. Right, so that's been 4 minutes, and amazing really how we can catch two so quick, and then it's sort of like, where have they all gone? So now is the time. I feel like we want to bosh some bait into them. So I'm going to put this down, hook him up and put him by, and let's get the big lad out. Now, casting with this rod isn't easy. You need a fair bit of weight to be able to like know where you're chucking. So there's the big lad. There's a bit of wind catching my umbrella. I just need to watch that. And then I'm just going to give him 4 bait ups to start. That's just mainline method mix. So what I've done, like I said earlier on, I've clipped this up off the island. So when I chuck tight, when they mooch around the island, it's only my pile of bait that's actually there. So you've got to get a little bit used to chucking these rods because it's like a broom handle, but it makes baiting up so much easier. So just super smooth, punch him out, crash him in. I'll let that sit there for a second, and then just a quick strike. And the pokiness of the rod helps you like empty that feeder really quickly. So there's one. We'll give him 4 because we're feeling generous. And I know this place does respond well to bait, and I'm pretty sure that any commercial fishery that's near you, they don't see this kind of a method, and you can sort of have it all to yourself for a while before anybody else cottons onto it. So there's 2. Let it sit there, then just 2 quick strikes, empty out that ground bait. It's all about having the right kit, being like nice and positive in what you're doing. You know, not thinking, oh, is that going to wrap around and crack off? You've just got to go for it. If it cracks off, so be it, just reset up. Everybody has a crack off now and then. Anybody says otherwise is lying. I swear I hit a fish then on the way down. So, I'll give him one more. Just so effortless when you got one of these. Like when I used to use my end gauges for this, I think I'll just chuck a heavier tip in it, but it's so hairy, the rod's like pushed to the limit and you just get crack offs and you can't hit the mark. But with this you can just, it's effortless and just lobbing it out there. And the more you chuck it, the more you get used to like chucking that big feeder on a stiff rod. And practice makes perfect, so what I'm going to do, I know they respond to a little bit of bait on you and you've got that noise of that big feeder crashing into them. So I'm going to keep on with the maggots, but what I'm going to do is change from those micros now to ground bait. You can always feed some like micros 50-50 in with your ground bait, but I know this venue, they do like ground bait. You could do this, you know, you could put loads of like 4 mils and micros in and corn and fish a method over the top of corn on, you know, there's so much stuff you can do. It's not just like ground bait and maggots. Whatever your venue kind of goes well on, that's what I would do. So just make sure that's in there nice and tidy. And then just lay my method in. Spin him round, make sure you've got that D of line just coming out the back of the feeder there. Give him a press. And then another thin layer, definitely going to double skin it. Because it's about getting some fish in the peg now. So let's just chuck this one, follow those bait ups in. Nice and positive with your casting, deliberate, punch it in. And there she is. Absolutely beautiful. And that's gone in. I don't know whether that big camera will just pick that up, but one literally just bow waves out of the peg then. So straight away they've come to that bait, come to the noise. So let's see if we can catch a load on this now. And what I'll do with this, oh, there we go. Cool. Instantaneous, like. They just don't see it across the islands, people don't do it. You know, it takes a little bit of balls to be able to do it in a match, to be honest, because people will be looking at you thinking, what the hell is he doing there? But trust me, it's a proper underused method. I don't know why people don't do more of it. And what I'll do now, I'll play this by ear, like, I'll try and catch a few. As soon as I feel like it's tailed off a little bit, they'll be having another 2 or 3 bait ups right on top of them, and then just keep following in. It's just the same as fishing the edge. Like, you wouldn't catch 5 or 6 and not refeed it. Eventually you'd have to give them a big cup to get them in there. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing with this. So just when you're playing them, nice and smooth, keep that rod nice and low. Got my clutch just ticking over there. Nice soft rod, strong hook, strong line. Just stack all the odds in your favour, that's what it's all about. Ooh, look at them. It is an absolutely delightful bit of fishing at this place. I love coming here. Nice. Oh, another cheese toasty, no wonder he's pulling a bit. Oh, look at him, look. They are absolutely full of it at this place. Just lunatics. They have all got serious bad tempers on them. She is. Oh, just about got him in then. Hooked perfectly again, middle of the bottom lip. So that is a spectacular start over that bait up. So let's see if we can winkle a few out, and then it's just going to be a case of, as it slows up, keep an eye on the bite times. Like, you almost haven't got time to put the stopwatch on a minute, but you know, I don't really want to be waiting much more than sort of 4 minutes for a bite the way it's going. That groundbait's absolutely perfect. With just touching on your groundbait, for a method, you want a nice super fine mix. Mixed on the dry side is really important so you can compress it around your feeder. Otherwise, if you mix, look at that chuck. If you sort of use a mix that's quite coarse and quite damp, what it does, it like sponges up off the feeder. It like mushrooms up off a feeder, and you can't compress it on, it just comes off on impact. So a nice fine mixed dry, you can really compress it hard onto the feeder and make sure you've got, you know, it's getting down to where you want to be fishing it. So that's sunk. And then just real careful, just put your rod on the rest. I've got a little bit of a bend. Keep an eye on the time, I haven't got my stopwatch off, but I'll just keep an eye on my wristwatch. And with my rod, you can see I have it pointed almost at the feeder. There we go. Look at him exploding on the top there. Beautiful fishing. I think gone are the days now where you sort of have the rod off to the side and just sort of direct on this, and I'm sure the bites are better on it and they hook themselves even better. So I'm almost like pointing at where the feeder is. It's a really effective way of fishing the method, that is. Especially when you're not hair rigging, like we're just hooking the bait. I think when you're in direct line with it, I'm sure you hook more pickups. This is an amazing bit of fishing at the minute. You know, that's probably been in there 25-30 seconds after putting the rod in the rest. Such a good venue this is. And these are like nice places to come and like sharpen up your skills. You know you're going to catch a few. Get used to using that big bait up rod and bait up feeder. Get your chucking on the feeder absolute money. Because if you can cast super accurately for method feeder fishing, that's one of the biggest differences compared to everybody else. The right setup and being super accurate with your casting. Because you'd be amazed, especially this day and age. There's not a lot of people fishing like running line anymore. It all seems to have gone like F1 pole fishing, but if you've got this in the locker, you can win so many matches. Keep still now. Whoa boy, whoa boy, whoa. Like a nice fish, look. Almost too scared to touch them in the net because they're absolute lunatics. So, impossible to hold one of these up for you, I'm afraid. Hook is out in the net. So we'll just drop him back in. Another big berth. And what's nice is like when you're like really confident fishing running line like this, like chucking this in, chucking the method in, it's just such a good way of fishing. And you can go anywhere and win on a method feeder, which is nice. So if you can get super good at this, you can catch loads of fish and win loads of matches. So I'm not going to waste time, straight in now over that. And we'll soon see what that kind of response is like, because if this goes off in my hand again now, you can almost like underline the fact that it's because we're feeding how we are. So we'll just drop that in. Double skin him, give him some bait. Like, get your bait right, that's another, you know, get your setup right, get your bait right, get your casting on the money, and it's just absolutely you can't fail. Honestly, such a good method. Look at that. You're not even, you know, like confident when you're casting, when you're not even thinking about what you're doing, when it's just like automatic almost. So I'll just hold on to that line. She's still sinking. There you go, she's down. Just put him on the rest quietly. Oh. Look at that. How quick is that feel, look? It's not coincidence, is it? You know, it's that quick. From having a couple of casts, like catching one but taking ages, next chuck, no fish. Bosh 2 lots in, and they're on you like a rash. They're so erratic the way they fight in here. You can see there now, we've got them, they're tailing up now. Out over on that island there. See them there, look, just beautiful. Whoa. There we go. Oh boy. So just to make sure, we'll chuck it in again. And I'm pretty sure the way it is now, if the rod finds its way onto the rest, we'll have waited too long for a bite the way it's going. Starting to get low on groundbait here as well. So just make sure you nice line up, have the feeder directly in front of you, and then just super positive, punch it forward, find your clip. And let's see if I'll go off like a prom dress in our hand. Not probably the best cast there, the line has got a little bit of a bow in it, which I don't really want. But it's on the dance floor there, I'm sure. If there's one there, you'll grab it. Just take up our little bit of slack. There we go. Where's he going now? Don't go towards those snags. That's where you want that like 10-pound line. Got 10-pound Pulse Pro on you. I just don't see the point. You know, I'm not chucking a long way, so it's not going to affect my casting. I just don't see the point in fishing any less if you're fishing on a bomb or a method for, you know, weights of fish like this, carp, and because your main line will come up through a little bit of harm, especially like the last 3 foot where it's in and out of your net, and an odd fish will take you around a bramble like that one just done then. Like the last thing you want is to be clipped up absolutely perfectly on the money, have a breakage and got to set it up again and try and find your clip again. And when you're so confident in chucking, it's never right the second time you set it up. Oh, that's a nice looking fish. Let's look. Beautiful looking fish, that one. That is absolutely dandy. Whoa. So I think that's going to be the fish we're going to finish on. I think you've seen all you need to see there. Look at him. Look at him there. Beautiful colours on that one. I think you've seen everything you need to see. I know Fishing like that proves a point, nice and positive, attack that far bank, do something that nobody else is doing, and you'll have rewards just like that. I'm sure you will, because they just don't see it on these commercials. So just get the right kit, get yourself a little beta rod, a nice soft rod to fish with, get some nice method feeders, a beta feeder, nice strong line, but get your casting, go out, practice your casting, and when you get your casting bang on, with the beta and with the method, the rewards are there for you to see. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I'm going to carry on fishing just because it's so good, and I'll catch up with you on another video very soon.